Good morning, my dear students. This is the first video that we are going to meet through. It is about these simple sentences, the topic that we are going to start studying English grammar with. It is found on or in chapter 7 in our textbook in the University Grammar of English. And I'm going to tell you about the books that we are going to study or to depend on during this year in our class on the Google Meet. Okay, so first of all, we are going to start with a simple definition of the simple sentence. What is a simple sentence? A simple sentence is the sentence that consists of one independent clause only. For example, she met him on the train. In this sentence, we can see that there is only one subject, which is she, followed by only one verb, which is met, and followed by one direct object, which is him. We don't have any more subjects or verbs or objects in this sentence. This means that we have only one clause. What type of a clause is it? As it is said in the definition, it is an independent clause. I think you know what we mean by the independent clause. The independent clause is the clause that can stand alone and have meaning. If you look at the other example, which is she met him on the train while he was traveling to London. You see here, if you analyze the elements found in this sentence, you are going to see that this sentence actually consists of two subjects, she and he, okay, two verbs, met and was traveling, okay, and one of them has a direct object, while the other has an adverb of a place. This means that this is not a simple sentence. Since we have more than one clause, there are two clauses, in fact, clause number 1 and clause number 2. And when we have two clauses, this means that these two clauses are of two different types. One of them should be dependent and the other should be independent. The difference between them, the independent clause, as we said, is the clause that can stand alone with meaning, while the dependent clause is the clause that cannot have meaning unless it is attached to the independent one. So if we apply what we said on this sentence, we can say that she met him on the train is and the independent clause, because if we say it alone, it will have meaning, it will have a complete idea. But if we go to the second clause, which is while he was traveling to London, try to say this sentence alone, or sorry, this clause alone, without the clause number 1. Is it going to have a complete idea? Of course not. You cannot say while he was traveling to London. So what? Okay? Unless you attach this clause to what? To the main or to the first clause, which we call the independent clause. This makes that clause number 2 is what? A dependent clause. So the idea is that having such a sentence that consists of two types of clauses does not make it a simple sentence. It is in fact a complex sentence. What we are dealing with in this chapter is the simple sentence that consists of only one clause. The second thing we have to know about the simple sentence in English is that it has patterns. What do we mean by patterns? It has certain structures that can represent them. These structures or these patterns are actually identified according to the obligatory elements found in these clauses and not the optional. Before we go further in explaining these patterns, we have first of all to identify the difference between the obligatory and the optional elements in the structure of clauses or simple sentences. What do we mean by obligatory elements? The obligatory elements are the elements that cannot be deleted from the sentence, otherwise it will affect its meaning. For example, can you delete the subject from the sentence? Can you delete the verb? Can you delete the direct object? No. These elements are known to be obligatory, essential to the obligatory, and essential to the structure of the sentence. If you delete any one of them, this will affect the structure of your sentence and will leave your sentence meaningless. What about the optional? The optional elements are in fact can be deleted from the sentence without affecting its meaning. That's why they are called what? Optional. So, the patterns of the simple sentence in English are identified, in fact, according to the obligatory elements and not the optional. How many patterns do we have for the simple sentence in English? We have 7 patterns. We are going to explain them one by one. We are going to start with pattern number 1. In pattern number 1, you can see that the simple sentence starts with a subject followed by a verb. The type of the verb here is called intensive, and this intensive verb is followed by the adverb of a place. These 3 elements are in fact obligatory. All of them, they are obligatory. No one can be deleted from the sentence. This is one. Second, what do we mean by intensive verb? First of all, the intensive verbs are the copular verbs in English, which means that they are the verbs to be and the linking verbs. Intensive means that to focus. Focusing on what? So here we are focusing on what? We are focusing on the subject. How are we focusing on the subject? Because the verb here plays the role of a connector. It connects between the subject and the adverb of a place, that or the element that comes after it. So the element that comes after the verb is in fact not related to the verb, but it is related to what? To the subject. What kind of elements? What are the structure, the forms of the adverb of a place? The adverb of a place that can be found in this pattern can be simple adverbs. For example, as we see in this sentence, he has been here. Here is a what? A simple adverb. And you see here, the has been, the verb is what? A copular verb, a verb to be. But in the second sentence, Mary is in the playground. Mary is the subject, is the intensive verb, which is a verb to be, and then in the playground, it is an adverb of a place. What is the form of this adverb of a place? This adverb of a place is a prepositional phrase. Consists of a preposition and followed by the noun phrase the playground. So here you see that the adverb of a place in pattern number 1 can have 2 forms, either a simple adverb or a prepositional phrase. What is the function, or what is its job of the intensive verb in this pattern? It connects between the subject and the adverb of a place. So the adverb of a place here in this sentence number 1, which is here, and sentence number 2 in the playground, is not related to the verb, but it is related to what? To the subject. Okay, now we go to the second pattern, which consists of subject, again intensive verb, and this intensive verb is followed by a new form, or a new element, which is called subject complement, and it is abbreviated as CS, capital C and small s, capital C for complement and small s for subject. So what do we mean by subject complement? Subject complement, as you see, it is subject, so it is related to what? Of course, it is not related to the verb, but it is related to the subject. Complement means completes the meaning. So the element that comes after the verb, and it is called subject complement, it is in fact, or it functions as a complement to the meaning of the subject. So again, This reinforces the idea that we talked about in pattern number one, which is that the intensive verb functions here as a connector that connects between the element that comes after it, which is the subject complement, to the what, connects it to the what, to the subject. For example, my boss seemed a reliable person. Let us examine this sentence carefully. My boss is the subject, of course, it is a subject. Then it is followed by the verb seemed. Seemed here, it is an intensive verb. How do we know it is an intensive verb? First, it is followed by a noun phrase. A reliable person, it is what? A noun phrase. Who is the reliable person? It is my boss. And what is the function of my boss in the sentence? It is what? The subject. So, a reliable person, this noun phrase, completes or complements the meaning of the subject, which means that a reliable person functions as, or this noun phrase functions as what? Subject complement. This is one. Second, what is the form or what is the type of this intensive verb? If you remember, we said in pattern number one, the intensive verbs can either be copular verbs, verbs to be, or linking verbs. So here, seem is what? A linking verb. And the function of linking verbs is to link what comes after it to what comes before it, which is what? The subject. Do we have other linking verbs in English? Yeah, we have, like feel, sound, appear, look, become, grow, get, and so on. Another thing that you have to know, that the subject complement does not come only in the form of a noun phrase. It can also be an adjective. For example, you should be more careful. So, analyzing the elements of the sentence, we can find that the sentence starts with you as a subject, should be as the intensive verb, and here, what is the form of the intensive verb here? Is it a copular verb, verb to be, or a linking verb? It is a verb to be. Followed by more careful. More careful. What is more careful? What is careful? It is an adjective. Who is more careful? Who has to be more careful? The subject, right? So more careful, if this adjective functions as a subject complement. It functions as a complement for whom or for what? For which element in the sentence? For the subject, which is you. That's why we call it subject complement. Okay, I'm going to stop here. I'm not going to explain all the patterns in one video, because each pattern has its own details that we have to go through deeply and carefully. In the next slide, I'm giving you an exercise, a simple exercise that I want you to practice identifying the pattern of these sentences, and we are going to do it together in our Google Meet class. So you have exercise 1. Identify the patterns of the following sentences. Number 1, a university is a community of scholars. Number 2, you are so young. Number 3, they are in class. When you identify the pattern of each of these sentences, you have to give me every detail that we have explained in the first 2 slides about pattern number 1 and pattern number 2. Okay, so please watch this video and study it carefully. Do the exercise, try to do the exercise. If you find it difficult, if you find anything in this video difficult for you, you cannot understand it, you have any problem with it, you have questions about it, please feel free to ask through or in our Google Classroom, Google Meet, which we agree that it is going to be on Monday, and we are all going to help each other to answer your questions. Thank you.